company uses Vanguard to manage our 401ks. There's a deeply troubling story in the Financial Times about Vanguard. Now, Vanguard is one of the big liberal firms that money managers, asset managers, and they have been pushing ESG for quite a while, environmental, social, governance stuff within corporations. Vanguard is very liberal in how it pushes this stuff. And now there's this. Let me just read you some of this. Vanguard, the world's second largest asset manager, is acting as a pipeline through which U.S. investment dollars are being funneled into Chinese military companies and corporations sanctioned over human rights abuses, according to a new report by a U.S. producers lobby group. The Coalition for a Prosperous America, a bipartisan organization that represents exclusively U.S.-based manufacturers and farmers, said Vanguard's flagship Emerging Markets Fund was channeling investments into 60 companies within China's military-industrial complex. Some of the companies are subject to U.S. government export controls. Vanguard funds also have holdings in 8 Chinese companies that are sanctioned by the U.S. government over human rights abuses in China's Xinjiang province. The CPA report said the U.S. State Department has characterized the suppression of the Uyghur minority in Xinjiang as genocide. Wall Street's role in financing Chinese companies connected to the People's Liberation Army is becoming increasingly contentious in Washington. In August, the U.S. House of Representatives China Committee accused asset manager BlackRock and global index provider MSCI of facilitating investments that helped the Chinese military. BlackRock said at the time it complied with all laws. MSCI says it's conducting a review. Mike Gallagher, the Republican head of the House China Committee, told the Financial Times Congress must turn off the tap of American capital flowing to China. Americans do not want firms like Vanguard to invest their retirement savings in companies building the Chinese Communist Party's military and implementing its ongoing genocide against the Uyghur people. If we accept the status quo, we are willfully fueling our own destruction. Mike Gallagher's not wrong. I don't know how to get my money, my 401k, into the hands of someone other than Vanguard, but at this point, I think if I could, I would. Vanguard is taking my money that comes out of my paycheck with my company's match and is investing in the People's Liberation Army of Communist China. It is investing in companies that are human rights abusers. It is investing in companies sanctioned by the United States. But the way they pass through the money, they can get around those sanctions. Nothing Vanguard is doing is illegal per se. But I would argue what it is doing is not just immoral, but quasi-treasonous when we know China is not an economic rival. China is our enemy. And Vanguard is taking my money and your money and putting it into the hands of the Chinese military. Vanguard is taking your money and my money and using it to help the Chinese military expand its technological output and develop technological output. Vanguard is helping the enemy, and obscenely and offensively, Vanguard is using your money and my money, not Vanguard's money. They're using our money to do it. And they hide behind the law. Vanguard said its asset managers maintain, quote, the highest levels of compliance with all applicable laws and regulations. We continue to monitor developments and would welcome additional clarity from policymakers. See what they're doing? See what they're doing? See what they're doing? They're adding complexity to get rid of moral clarity. This is postmodern Marxism at work at Vanguard. oh, well, we're following the laws and we're following the regulations. If anybody has a problem with it, we need the policymakers to clarify. Not, we recognize we're funding the Chinese military that's about to go to war with the United States. We're using hardworking Americans' money to fund the American enemy that would love to destroy America. No, no, no. We're complying with the laws. We're complying with the regulations. They've taken morality out of it. They've taken right and wrong out of it. It's just money. Never mind, we're giving it to the People's Liberation Army. Never mind, we're giving it to a country that would love to nuke America. Never mind, we're giving it to a world regime that willfully exterminates its own people. No, we're just getting a good rate of return on investment. It's still wrong, Vanguard. It's wrong. You are funding the military of a murderous regime, and I resent it like hell because it's my money you're using. You people at Vanguard sit on the board. You're not using your money. You're using my money to benefit the People's Liberation Army of China. This is infuriating. Something's got to give here. And Vanguard has willfully, over the years, pushed the environmental social governance agenda, the ESG agenda. Vanguard, as much as BlackRock, has been pushing companies to go left. Vanguard, as much as BlackRock, has been pushing companies to embrace these social experiments. So because they pushed American companies to engage in these social experiments, and so the rate of return on investment from these companies has gone down because companies that comply with ESG tend to not produce as much or have the earnings that other companies do. They've decided to offload the capacity. So, well, we got to make money somehow, so let's send people's money to China and let's give it to the Chinese military through backdoor channels. And it's not really the military, it's just companies owned and controlled by the military. These people are moral midgets. They've taken my money to do it. I just resent that. There's a massive, helicopter also flying past my window right now, but it's one of those with, wings and rotors on both sides. That's like an osprey. That's kind of impressive. Distraction. Sorry, squirrel. That thing just flew past my window. I was like, well, that's an interesting vehicle. In any event, I digress. Y'all, at some point, American business has to wake up and realize the Chinese are not our friends. Whether it's Nike or Disney or Vanguard or BlackRock or Tesla, they got to realize the Chinese are ruthless authoritarians who are not our friend or not our rival. They're our enemy. The Chinese intend for war to come. There's this meme going around on social media right now that the Army and the Navy have started running ads again with big, beefy white guys. And that must mean we're headed to war. They've some of the ad campaigns from the Army in particular have been super woke lately. They've got this multicultural, diverse array of wonky nerds who are studying science and stuff, nothing about fighting. And all of a sudden, they're running ads with these big, beefy white guys who are out there holding guns and charging ahead. It's like, oh, we must be having to up our recruiting now and bring in more young white men to kill the Chinese, to fight. We must be going to war. They've changed it. I'll tell you, the Chinese are ready for war against us. The Chinese are building up a military propaganda campaign in China to recruit as many people to prepare for war. I see where this is heading. And what's horrific about it is that Vanguard is using the money of the people whose 401ks are managed by Vanguard to fund the Chinese military. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. It's like the story from Jurassic Park. Just because you were able to do it doesn't mean you should have done it. But Vanguard is taking that position that, well, no one said we can't. We've complied with the laws and the regulations, so we're going to do it. And no one stopped to think, is it wise to fund our enemy's military? And they, with a clear conscience, say, well, we complied with the laws and the regulation, because they have no conscience. They have no soul. They have no morality. They're just in it for the money, I guess. Why would you do this with the hard-earned money of American workers? Why would you fund the Chinese military, Vanguard? That's exactly what you've done. You should be ashamed of yourself, and you should stop it. I do not want my hard-earned money that I worked my butt off to get to be invested with the Chinese military, but because Vanguard manages my 401k, I guess that's what I'm getting, and I'm appalled by it. And every single other person should be as well. And Congress should take action against Vanguard. They absolutely should take action against Vanguard for doing this. They shouldn't be able to hide behind, well, we comply with the laws and the regulations. If that's the case, we need new laws and new regulations to stop them from funding the Chinese military with the money of working Americans.